Curious about how super typhoons have reshaped the Philippines? In this video, we'll uncover the storms that left lasting scars on the nation and the lessons learned in resilience and preparedness. From powerful winds to life-changing impacts, join us to explore the incredible stories of survival and strength that define the Filipino spirit. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the history that shapes the Philippines. Let's dive into the super typhoons that changed the Philippines forever. The Philippines, an archipelago of over 7,000 islands, sits right in the path of the Pacific typhoon belt. Each year, about 20 typhoons hit the Philippines, with at least a few of them causing significant damage. Its geographical position, warm tropical waters, and mountainous terrain make the Philippines particularly susceptible to powerful storms, flash floods, landslides, and deadly storm surges. Typhoons form over warm ocean waters in the western Pacific, gaining energy and size as they move toward land. By the time they reach the Philippines, they often bring sustained winds of over 100 miles per hour, torrential rains, and massive storm surges. These surges can cause sea levels to rise by several meters, flooding low-lying coastal areas and sweeping away homes, infrastructure, and even entire villages. The topography of the islands further amplifies the impact. With many regions situated near active volcanoes and mountainous terrain, the risk of landslides and mudflows increases during heavy rains. The combination of these factors makes each typhoon season a time of preparation and resilience for Filipinos, who face some of the world's most dangerous storms head-on. One of the deadliest typhoons in history, Super Typhoon Haiyan, known locally as Yolanda, devastated the Philippines in November 2013. Haiyan made landfall with wind speeds exceeding 195 miles per hour, and storm surges reached over 20 feet in height, particularly impacting Tacloban City and surrounding areas in Leyte and Samar. It was one of the most powerful typhoons ever recorded, causing massive destruction, with entire communities reduced to rubble and over 6,300 lives lost. The immediate impact of Haiyan was felt across central Philippines, where infrastructure was wiped out, power lines were downed, and communication lines were severed. For survivors, basic necessities like food, water, and shelter were scarce. The typhoon left nearly 4.1 million people displaced and destroyed more than 1.1 million homes, leaving millions in desperate need of aid. The magnitude of the disaster caught international attention, prompting a global outpouring of relief efforts. Countries around the world, alongside NGOs and local volunteers, mobilized to provide emergency assistance, food, medical care, and shelter. However, the scale of the disaster exposed gaps in the Philippines' disaster preparedness. Local and national response systems were overwhelmed, and many communities were stranded without aid for days. As the dust settled, the Philippine government, along with international partners, realized that significant changes were needed in the country's disaster response system. In the years following Haiyan, the Philippines adopted new policies to enhance disaster preparedness. These included improving early warning systems, building more resilient infrastructure, and investing in pre-positioned supplies for remote communities. Haiyan's legacy endures, not only as a story of tragic loss, but as a catalyst for reforms that continue to shape the nation's approach to disaster management. Haiyan is a powerful reminder of the resilience of the Filipino spirit and the importance of preparedness in a world where super typhoons are becoming more frequent and more intense. In November 2020, Super Typhoon Goni, or Raleigh, hit the Philippines, particularly affecting the Bicol region and parts of Luzon. With wind speeds reaching 195 miles per hour, Goni was the world's most powerful tropical cyclone that year, displacing hundreds of thousands and leaving a trail of destruction. Goni made 4 landfalls, causing widespread flooding, landslides, and power outages. The COVID-19 pandemic complicated Goni's impact. Evacuation efforts were hampered by social distancing requirements, and the capacity of shelters was limited to prevent the spread of the virus. This forced many people to stay in their homes or seek alternative, often less safe, accommodations. Relief distribution was also affected, as quarantine measures delayed the mobilization of resources, further increasing the strain on local governments and aid organizations. Despite these challenges, the resilience of Filipinos shone through. Local government units, volunteers, and international organizations came together to provide relief despite the logistical challenges. Goni underscored the importance of developing disaster response strategies that consider both environmental and health crises. This experience led to further improvements in Philippine disaster preparedness, highlighting the need for adaptable and flexible response systems, especially as the world faces new challenges in disaster response. In December 2021, Super Typhoon Odette, known internationally as Rai, struck the Visayas and Mindanao regions with fierce winds and torrential rains. The storm left significant damage across popular tourist destinations like Siargao, Cebu, and southern Leyte, destroying homes, businesses, and critical infrastructure. Rai's late-season arrival caught many off guard as it intensified rapidly before making landfall. With winds peaking at 165 miles per hour, Odette toppled power lines, disrupted water supplies, and flooded low-lying areas, leaving millions without access to essential services. The tourism-dependent areas, especially Siargao, suffered severe economic losses. Residents faced shortages of clean water and food, with local businesses and communities struggling to recover from the disaster. In the aftermath of Odette, the community-driven Filipino spirit known as Bayanihan came to the forefront. Volunteers from various regions, including local and international aid groups, mobilized to bring emergency supplies and rebuild homes. This storm demonstrated the importance of community solidarity as people worked together to restore what was lost. Odette highlighted the need for stronger infrastructure, particularly in rural and remote areas that are often hit hardest by these storms. The devastation underscored the urgency of climate adaptation strategies, with leaders calling for increased investment in resilient infrastructure and sustainable environmental practices. In 2006, Super Typhoon Reming, known internationally as Durian, caused massive destruction in the Baikal region. The storm brought winds of 165 miles per hour and torrential rains that triggered devastating mudflows from the slopes of Mayon volcano in Albay. These mudflows, known as lahar, buried entire villages under volcanic debris, killing hundreds and displacing thousands. The aftermath of Reming revealed the need for improved hazard mapping and early warning systems, especially in areas prone to both volcanic activity and typhoons. It spurred the Philippine government to develop strategies for communities located near volcanoes, improving evacuation protocols, and implementing permanent safety measures for residents in hazard-prone areas. Reming also underscored the importance of environmental management in disaster preparedness. The storm's legacy in the Baikal region is a testament to the complex interaction between natural disasters and geographic vulnerabilities in the Philippines. In response, the government strengthened disaster response strategies, especially around volcanic regions, to reduce the likelihood of similar tragedies in the future. Each super typhoon has pushed the Philippines to advance its disaster preparedness. Following these storms, the Philippine government has implemented a variety of improvements, from early warning technology to stricter building codes. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, NDRRMC, now coordinates the nation's typhoon preparedness and response efforts, ensuring that local governments, communities, and international organizations work in sync. The government has also made substantial investments in weather forecasting, alert systems, and evacuation procedures to better protect people in vulnerable areas. Public awareness campaigns have educated citizens on disaster risks, encouraging families to create emergency plans and understand evacuation routes. These improvements have saved lives and reduced the impact of subsequent storms. However, the country's increasing exposure to climate change-induced weather events has highlighted the ongoing need for even greater resilience and adaptation. The lessons learned from past super typhoons underscore the importance of proactive planning and international cooperation. As climate change brings more frequent and powerful storms, the Philippines faces a growing challenge. Future typhoon preparedness will require more than just emergency response. It will involve long-term adaptation and resilience building. Coastal defenses, climate-resilient infrastructure, and robust environmental policies will be essential to protecting vulnerable communities. The Philippines is now looking to invest in sustainable infrastructure that can withstand stronger storms, as well as developing policies focused on reducing carbon emissions and preserving natural barriers like mangroves, which help buffer coastal areas against storm surges. International aid and collaboration will be crucial, as many of these adaptation projects require substantial funding. Filipinos are no strangers to adversity, and their resilience continues to inspire. Moving forward, the nation remains committed to preparing for the next storm, with each lesson learned from past super typhoons serving as a stepping stone toward a more resilient future. The super typhoons that have hit the Philippines are more than just storms. They're pivotal moments that reveal both the strength and vulnerability of the Filipino people. Each typhoon has been a test of resilience, community spirit, and a commitment to rebuilding stronger. As the nation continues to face these powerful storms, the Filipino people remain steadfast, driven by a determination to protect their communities and adapt to the changing climate. While the physical scars left by super typhoons are deeply etched into the landscape, the spirit of the people remains unbreakable. These storms remind us that while we cannot control nature, we can control how we prepare, respond, and rebuild. The Filipino story of resilience in the face of super typhoons is one of strength, unity, and hope, a story that will continue to inspire future generations. Thank you for joining us as we explored the super typhoons that changed the Philippines forever. If you found this episode insightful, be sure to subscribe for more stories that define Philippine history. Let us know your thoughts on these events and share any other topics you'd like us to cover. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and remember, resilience is at the heart of the Filipino spirit.